We don't need everybody waiting. This is all right, ladies. Well, excuse me, I'm gonna take my mask off just a tiny bit. So welcome, ladies. As you might know already, my name is Raquel. I'm the program coordinator. I've been here with BCSS for 2 months. So I'm really excited. Welcome. I'm really excited to continue doing things more like this in 2022. Thank you to Representative Maleeva, who is our first official presenter of 2022. Yay! Happy New Year! Awesome. So happy 2022. Welcome to the new year. Let's rock it. Let's have some fun. If you guys have any suggestions for programming within 2022 or even 2023, please put them on the surveys. As you can see, your clipboards, the first paper is the survey that we would, like all of you to please fill out by the end of the presentation. And then on the bottom, we have the PowerPoint presentation, and you can take notes and stuff on the PowerPoint, any of the gems and jewels that Maleeva throws at us today. And lastly, I wanted to, Jenny, you know already, and Leslie, I'm sure you do already, but for those who might not know or might already know, Pink in the Rink is going to take place at the Santander Arena. Welcome. Hi, Christy. It's going to take place on February 12th at the Santander Arena. We're going to have a Reading Royals game. And so Pink in the Rink, to explain that to anybody that might not know, and you as well, Maria, you know, basically, we're prioritizing newly diagnosed women or survivors, and then survivors that have been on their journey for a bit longer, be on a wait list to be able to be a shooter. So we're looking for survivors who are interested in being shooters at Pink in the Rink, and basically it's a fun night where we get to be at the Reading Royals game, enjoy the game. We're at the beginning. If you'd like to be a shooter, we're looking for survivors who'd like to be shooters, stand on the ice, shoot the puck into the net. So,
that's exciting.
Yeah, if you're interested.
Fall on your ass.
Yeah,
Potentially.
right. I could do that with or without ice.
Yeah.
But,
Me too right now.
but if you're interested, please call the office and myself or one of the other staff members here, or Michelle. We can get you guys registered and signed up to be a shooter, or in general to be with us that night. It's going to be really fun. Again, Pink in the Rink, February 12th, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. But if you're not attending the game, you could probably leave a little bit earlier. And to all shooters, we'll be offering complimentary tickets. And then if you'd like to bring family, friends, and stuff like that, they would have to purchase their own tickets. And Vanessa will provide more details about that. I'll sign you up. Vanessa will follow up. So anybody interested, you can talk to me at the end of the program tonight, or just email me tomorrow or within the next few days. We're trying to get everybody registered as soon as possible. And proceeds of the event also go to BCSS. So, we're supporting our own organization. And now on to introducing Maleeva. So Maleeva is a makeup artist, and ceremony was missing any other things.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll cover whatever you want.
There's a lot of cool work. So we've been working with her for quite some time. And she does our Face Up to Save Beauty programs and stuff like that beginning this February up until the end of the year. Yay, we've got some really cool things coming up with her. So thank you, Maleeva, for being our first presenter of 2022. Yay.
Yeah.
So I'll leave the show.
Take it away. Thanks so much. Well, thank you all ladies for joining us tonight. Everything except for the fashion show that I've been able to do with BCSS has been through Zoom. And so it's amazing to have like some in-person energy. So I appreciate you all coming out on Zoom. Thank you so much for tuning in. Just to refresh, I was talking to a couple of the ladies earlier. If you have any questions about anything, like we're going to keep it super informal. My goal is to help you all feel empowered to achieve some goals this year, whether that's some health goals, whether that's some business goals, whether that's family goals, whatever that means for you, to kind of bring the inner self and the outer self together to feel like you can really have an abundant new year. And so there's a lot of different components and things that we'll talk about within that. But I only have a few slides because they're just more like guidelines for myself, so I don't go off on a tangent. So if you have any questions about anything specific, just like raise a hand or shout them out. We don't have to wait till a specific time. Same on Zoom. So feel free to interact in the chat. If you have any questions, and then Raquel will make sure that I can answer them live. So let's rock. My topic is the inner self versus the outer self and how to connect the two for an abundant 2022. I love using the word abundant. And if you wouldn't mind flipping through, I guess I should probably talk about who I am for a moment. So Raquel had it right. I am a freelance makeup artist. I do work in the film industry. I started out in special effects makeup and moved more into the beauty side of things, beauty makeup. And through the evolution of my brand, I started to talk to a lot of women, and women had other concerns. They have skin concerns. And so I was like, well, I need to learn more about the skin so I can help the women sitting in my chair, not just with cosmetics and a look, but also with their skin. The more I started to learn about skin, the more a lot of women were talking about gut issues. And I'll talk about this because the gut and beauty connection is a real thing. Whatever is going on in our gut is detoxing through our skin. So a lot of challenges that women have in their skin, I also like to go internally and talk gut health. And so the evolution of my brand has really moved into being able to consult in those three components, not just putting on a pretty face, but my passion lies in helping women feel reflected in beauty. And so it's not just film. I do a lot with women in business and women in business consulting, but my goal is to help every woman. Doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter your situation, it doesn't matter your socioeconomic status, your skin tone, your skin type. Every woman should feel reflected in beauty. And that has been kind of my purpose and my mission. And I've paired it with my skill set to be able to make an impact in the way I know how to do. And so that's a little bit about me. I do build business internationally. So I do work with a beauty academy. I am a certified trainer for them. And I do some work in the United Kingdom as well. So that's been a fun traveling experience. Of course, past couple of years haven't been doing a lot of traveling, but I'm excited to get back to it. So I do train with the Beauty and Business Academy. I am also a national certified trainer for one of the brands that I do work with, which is called Motives Cosmetics. And I am co-chair for a local women's networking group called Berks Women in Motion. All women are welcome. So if you like to be in the networking community, I highly encourage you all to come check us out. We're on Facebook, Berks Women in Motion. It's a really great group of women. And there's no membership fee or anything. So you can just come out for lunch or come out for a mixer and get to know some great women in the community. We do have a service component of that. That's actually how I got connected with BCSS, is because we were doing work with some of the comfort bags that they put together. And that's how we got talking about the Face Up to Safe Beauty campaign. And that's how I kind of became connected with BCSS. So that's a little bit about me, but going into words, when I was putting together this PowerPoint, I was like, okay, abundant really struck me. And I've always talked about abundance and attracting abundance and what that looks like and what is abundance to me. And so I was like, well, I should probably look it up in the dictionary and see what the actual term abundance means. And so what they said was a very large quantity of something, which seems pretty straightforward. And so when I think abundance, I think of in all forms. Like, I don't just want an abundance of beauty or money. I want an abundance of relationships and joy and wealth and happiness and health and all of those components together. So when I think of abundance and being abundant, I think of all of those forms. And I also know that if you want to attract those things to you, or if you want to have abundance in certain forms, we need to be intentional about what we want, so that then we can figure out what we need to do in order to have it. And so when I was looking at 2022, has anybody ever seen any of the choose your word for a year? Anybody seen that? Like, people are posting memes. I had never really seen that until last year. And I was like, it really struck me, like, choose a word that's going to guide you in your year to come. And so last year for me, it was intentional, because I was really looking at evolving my brand and who I can serve from a professional standpoint, but I also was looking to start a family, which now is happening. I have 7 months pregnant, so that's like, whew. So it worked because I was very intentional in what I needed to do in order to focus on those two things. And so I had done, looked intentional up to, and it was done on purpose and deliberate. So if we want to create an abundance in our life, we have to be intentional or deliberate on what we need to do in order to accomplish it. So feel free, if you've never done this before, or just like a little thought, if there's a word that really strikes you of how you want to like guide yourself this year or carry yourself this year, feel free to jot it down, or just think about like a word of the year. If you want to look up a bunch of words and see what kind of suits you or what calls you. This year, my word was focus. And so once again, thanks to Webster's Dictionary, I looked up. Focus is the center of interest or activity. It's the state or quality of having or producing clear visual definition. And so I found that kind of all three of those words go together. Focus for me is, I own a business. My husband owns a business. I'm about to deliver a baby, so I need to focus on family. So I needed to get really skinny on what I wanted to have this year and what I wanted to focus on to make sure that I can give the best of myself into the three components of my life that are really of value to me. And so that's why I chose focus for this year. So, I mean, some people like the idea, some people think it's like kind of hokey, but if it's feeling fun for you, I would highly encourage you to pick a word that you want to guide you this year, because then it's also going to help with goal setting, but it's also going to help, hey, like, what's going to be important to me this year? And it's going to help guide you on making sure that stays front of mind for you. So these were just some words that I was thinking of for 2022. Anybody listen to podcasts? Podcasts, yeah, a couple. I have an iPhone, so we have like a podcast app right on our phone, but I know there are a lot of like iHeartRadio and different apps you can use to listen to podcasts. I like listening to them because there's always something that I can learn from someone somewhere. And I was listening to one, and this gentleman was telling a story about how he was so focused in business, and he was trying to grow his business. And it felt like he kept beating his head up against a brick wall because nothing was really working for him. And as he was so focused on growing his business, he was getting more and more unhealthy. He was gaining more weight, and he was starting to have a lot of physical health challenges. And so I think he consulted with someone, and that person was like, why don't you forget about growing your business for a minute and focus on your health? Because that's important. And when he started focusing on his health, he started losing weight, his blood pressure came down, his cholesterol came down. All of a sudden, his business started growing. And I listened to that, and it reminded me that something going on in one area of your life usually bleeds into another area of your life. And where I find that it affects me the most is when I don't eat right. And by eating right, I mean, I'm like eating junk food and like cheesy carbs instead of like good fiber and protein. I notice that that takes a toll on my mindset, on my mood, on how I'm feeling day to day. And so this is something I like people to be aware of, because on the contrary, if you're struggling in one area of your life, maybe it's time to like flip and look at a different area of your life that you're looking to improve, because those things bleed into each other as well in a good way. Just like that gentleman that started losing weight and taking control of his health, his business started getting better because the positive things that he focused on were starting to now move into different areas. So it just was a strong reminder that there are things that are connected together that sometimes we don't even think about. And one of them is mind. So when I talk about kind of the inner and outer self, mind is one of them, because it's the mind, it's our body, and it's our spirit. And then this quote stuck with me: a healthy attitude is contagious, but don't wait to catch it from others. Be a carrier. And so I love listening to podcasts on a daily basis, because it helps me stay front of mind, not just positive, like, yay, today's my favorite day, but because I mean, sometimes positivity can be toxic depending on like, you know, how it's front of mind and how it's being portrayed to you. But I think knowing that you've been through a hard time or going through a hard time, but things will get better and you're on track and you're doing things for like whatever your goals are, that's a good positive way to have a spin and to get through your day. And so I find that podcasts and listening to other people's stories help me keep perspective on like what's going on in my own life. And I firmly believe that if we want better, no matter what that looks like for you, if we want better, we have to become a little bit better, because who we are today and all of the things that we have in our circle are reflective of that person now. But if we want to have a different situation or more, it becomes helpful to become a little bit more. And one of those ways that I do that is through reading books and listening to podcasts. And so I have a bunch of ones that I recommend here on the next slide. But first, before we go into that, I like to think of a goal statement. Anybody write a goal statement before? And I don't mean a New Year's resolution, because we all know what happens with those. But I mean a goal statement where you kind of write an action plan. Oh, okay, this is fun. So we're gonna do this right now. And if you've never done this before, it's totally okay. If you're feeling like this is a little uncomfortable or why am I doing it, that's okay. You're welcome to have those thoughts too. But let's just try something a little bit new. So when I think of a good goal statement, it first starts with, what do I want? Like, what do I want for my life this year? It starts with, what do I want? And then it truly becomes a goal when I put a date on it. When do I want it by? Because if I just like, hey, for example, let's just say I want to lose weight. And that's all I say, hey, I want to lose weight. Well, it's not really specific. Like, when do I want to lose weight by? How much weight do I want to lose? So if I don't get very clear and specific on what my goal is, then it's hard to really take action toward it. Or I might start taking action and then stop, which is where we get resolutions from, right? So think about, real quick, just think about three things that you want. It could be anything. And I'll write them down. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Karen. Hi, Diane. The next step to the what do you want is when do you want to buy? And this is all about you. So it doesn't matter what you think you should want or what you think other people might want. This is your time with you. And it's okay if you don't have it all mapped out or want to dive into it later. This is kind of just getting our brains going, right? Getting in the creative mode. And the last thing that makes up a really good goal statement is, what are you willing to give up, overcome, and become in order to have it? So for example, if my goal was to lose weight, and let's say I wanted to lose 15 pounds by April 11th, hoping that's the case because I want to pop a baby out there. I wanted to lose 15 pounds by April 11th. What would I have to be willing to give up, overcome, and become? I might have to give up binge watching Netflix at night in order to maybe work out for 30 minutes. I might have to give up my mindset on why I'm carrying some extra weight, because maybe carrying a little extra weight means that I don't have to have close relationships with other people. I'm just making things up, right? Maybe I have to become someone that eats good fiber and good protein and doesn't eat so many gummy bears on a regular basis. And when I write these things down, it's starting to now shape my mindset and my identity to the person that has the things that I want to have. Does that make sense? So I'm no longer Maleeva that's 15 pounds overweight. I'm now the Maleeva who works out for half an hour, 3 nights a week, who eats good fiber and greens, and is excited about the relationships and the attraction that I can have with the world around me when I'm the fit person that I want to become. So I'm just kind of like shifting my identity into the person that already has the goal. And this is why I think this is interesting. When you shape this into a paragraph, what you want, when you want it by, what you're willing to give up over it, come and become the action plan, and write it in the present tense. Meaning if I were writing this as a goal statement, I would write, it is April 11th, and I feel so incredible that I've shed 15 pounds. I'm in the best shape of my life. I love dancing 3 nights a week with my Fit On app, and I can't wait to go on a date with a new man. Making it up. I have a husband. I don't need him. I don't need another one. But I say those things because I'm writing them in the present tense. Why? Because your brain does not know what is coming or what has happened or what's yet to come. So when I write my goal statement and I'm reading it twice a day in the present tense, I'm kind of tricking my brain into attracting what I want to achieve, because your brain doesn't know that it hasn't happened yet. I'm kind of tricking it to saying, hey, it's already happening. And there was a Harvard business study that said 83% of people have no goals, or they don't know what they want. 14% who have goals are 10 times more successful, meaning that people who know what they want are already 10 times more successful than people that don't. And from there, 3% of the 14 that had goals that had them written were 3 times more successful than the other 14% with unwritten goals. Pretty neat. So if you think about it, you right now, from the person that just walked in the door, are already like 97% more likely to hit the things on your list just because you did this exercise. And so I'm hoping that, whether you contributed or you didn't and you watched, I'm looking at some of you on Zoom, it's okay. I'm hoping that this gets the brain going a little bit to maybe start thinking about some things that you want, and don't be scared to actually write it down. And I'm so blessed because in the business that I'm a part of, this is just a part of our culture. We do this on a regular basis, but I find that with a lot of women in business that I work with, that's not a culture. And even a lot of us here today hadn't done this before. And so I hope that this gets some positive things brewing for you and that you'll feel comfortable maybe putting this into play. If you have significant other or kids, maybe do this as a family exercise and get them doing this alongside you, or grandchildren, because it is fun to figure out, what do you want? When do you want to buy? What can we do to get you there? And so that's important. And so this is kind of what we just did. And we can break it down a little bit further. So we have our goal statement, right? Or at least the shapings, the foundation of one. From here, there's something called a 4Ws workshop, which lets us skinny it down a little bit more, or drill down on it. And that is the want, which we already decided, the why, which is important. Because there are a lot of things we want, but if we don't know why we want them, sometimes we're not willing to take action towards it, right? And then finally, the when we want to buy, which we already decided. So if you wouldn't mind skipping to the next slide, I have a visual of this. And we'll use the lose weight again. Want, lose weight. Obviously, I don't like this one because it needs to be a little bit more clear. What specifically do you want? But just for an example, the why, well, why do you want that? For losing weight, to be healthier, to feel better, to fit in the clothes, to feel sexy when I stand naked in front of the mirror. Whatever the case is, this is personal for you. Now, obviously, I'm just using losing weight because it's a big thing for a lot of people at any given time. And then the what. The what is, okay, what action steps do I need to take? And this is something that we can do right now. So you have your want. Start thinking about why you want the thing that you wrote down. Whether it's a new car, whether it's a new outfit, whether it's something bigger, whether it's a mindset. Why do you want the thing that you wrote down? And then from there, the what is, okay, what now do I have to do to take action? Maybe if it's, I want a new car, okay, well, what are the finances? Your finances look good to get a new car. If not, okay, maybe we need to trim some of the eating out or going to Starbucks 3 days a week to be able to put a fund aside to then be able to get a car. And so for this example, in the losing weight, the what this person needed to do was, okay, they wanted to limit their intake of carbs. They wanted to focus on portion control. They want to exercise daily, which they wrote, go for a 30-minute walk, so it's very specific. Incorporate free weights to get stronger. And then they were going to take some weight loss solution products and shakes to kind of help guide their journey. And so for you, You don't have to do it now, but just to start thinking, what are some actions you can take in order to get closer to the goal that you wrote down the want? Because we also wrote the when we want to buy. And this shapes a solid statement. And this you could do for any aspect of your life. You can do this with any family member. You could do this with any friend. Because a lot of times we get so wrapped up in emotion or overwhelmed, and that's okay. We're human. But I think when you take a step back, could take a deep breath, and then you can break something down logically, all of a sudden it doesn't feel so overwhelming anymore because you have a clear plan of action. So now it's just about, okay, I have this big goal or I have this big want. I know when I want it by, but because I wrote down exactly what I need to do to get there, I can kind of forget about the end result, just focus on these little activities, the journey of getting there. And all of a sudden, now something that was so big before is now not so overwhelming. And so I focus a lot when it comes to the mindset, because this really is the forefront to getting anything someone wants in their life. But we have to make sure that this is right and the heart is right and they're aligned so that we can now take consistent action towards that goal. So we can move on to the next one. So keeping your brain in the game daily is a discipline. Like getting better doesn't just happen. Getting older does. Like getting older just happens, right? We don't really control that, but getting better, we have to control. We have to be intentional about. So I talked about this. If we want more, we have to become more. My goal, this sounds kind of wild, but I heard this once and I was just like, wow, that's brilliant, is to get 100% better every year. That sounds pretty aggressive, right? Okay, how do you get 100% better every year? So I was like, okay, well, how do I break that down? There's 365 days a year. So if I got like 1/3% better each day, at the end of a year, I'd be 100% better. Okay, well now how do I get 1/3% better each day? My plan for that is I'm going to listen to an audio to keep my brain in the game and maybe to build a skill or to develop a stronger skill set of something I don't know or to help my mindset. I'll listen to an audio. I also like to listen to a leadership podcast because part of growing my brand and the community I look to serve, I like to get better, and leadership is a component of that. So I know if there's one skill I need to sharpen, I want to drill down and listen to the things that are going to help me with that skill set. So whether it's a sermon, it's growth-based, I listen to a leadership podcast on a daily basis. Then I also read 20 pages of a book, some kind of growth journey. And now it's so funny, like, I don't know if y'all remember, but maybe 20 years ago, like the self-help section of Barnes and Noble was like, nobody went there because it was like, this is super embarrassing to be talking about self-help. But now self-growth is like everywhere. And it's almost like now if we're not doing something for growth, like we're the odd man out. And so I like to read 20 pages of a book. And I have some recommendations for podcasts and I have some recommendations for books. And now, I don't know about you, I love to read, but I don't like to read dry material. So there are some self-growth books out there that you're like, oh my gosh, this is painful. And it's like hard to even get through a page. But there are a lot of books out there that read almost like a fiction piece that like tell stories or that are funny. And so just know that there's something out there for you dependent on your style and your personality and what you like. So you can find something that'll help you grow, that'll kind of fit in a way that's not painful for you. So here are some podcasts that I personally recommend. I love the Ed Milet show. Anybody here Ed Milet? Oh, okay, you're in for a treat. He looks like a WWE wrestler. Like this guy has a massive head and like huge muscles, but his mindset and his kindness is insane. And he interviews some of the best people on his podcast. So one of my favorite episodes that he does, it's called The X Factor for Success in 2020. It's also called Separation Season. So feel free if you wanted to like grab oh, you have it all in front of you. Well, you need to take a picture because she printed it out for you. So you have these on file, like go check them out. If you have an iPhone, you can just type it in the podcast app. I also like this episode with Rachel Hollis, the most important thing she does every year. She talks about, she looks through her whole calendar. At the end of a year, she goes through her whole calendar, every single appointment, everything she did. And she picks 5 things that she wants to do more of. So she's like, what are 5 things that bring me joy? Doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about it. But what are 5 things that make me happy that I want to do more of this year? She also looks at her whole calendar and says, okay, what are 5 things that I would never do again? Whether it's a meeting with a person that I just don't need them a part of my life, whether it's I said yes to something that I really wanted to say no to, like she looks at that and then makes a vow to like not do them ever again. So that was a really neat one. Elevation, if you're into sermons, Elevation Church with Stephen Furtick, he's just really yummy. So I like to look at him, but he does really great sermons. The Growth Now movement, Justin Schenk is local, right in Reading. He has the Growth Now movement. He's done some pretty amazing things over the past couple of years, but his podcast is excellent. And then also Jay Shetty, he has a podcast on purpose. He was a monk for several years, and he's like my age. I think he's in his 30s. And so he has a really neat perspective just on life, and he interviews some amazing people as well. So just some recommendations for me. When it comes to books, there's a series called You're a Badass by Jen Sincero. She has several books in this series. She's hilarious. So it's like reading self-growth from someone who's a comedian. She's great. Think Like a Monk, Jay Shetty. I'm actually reading it right now, and it's, I dare say it's transformational. Really incredible when it comes to mindset and the way we look at things and fear and confidence. It's wonderful. Bob Berg has a series called the Go Giver series, and that deals with leadership and influence, and it reads like a fiction story. So I like things that are told in parables. The Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. She's actually the creator of Grey's Anatomy and a lot of other shows. She has a book, and she's funny as well. And then the High Five Habit by Mel Robbins. Anybody hear about this one? High Five Habit?
I've been having.
Okay. Yep. And she has the 5-second rule. High Five Habit is her new one. And I'll just give you what the premise of the book, and you can try this for yourself this week if you want. But she said in the morning, especially over this past year and a half, and things have been wacky, right? She, instead of focusing on all of the challenges and stuff that was going on in her life, she looked in the mirror and gave herself a high five. She didn't say anything. She had her toothbrush sticking out of her mouth, but she gave herself a high five just to see what it would do. And then in the book, she goes into all of the science that goes on with our brains behind giving ourselves a high five. And she suggests everyone do it for 7 days. Wake up in the morning, when you're brushing your teeth, whatever you're doing, give yourself a high five in the mirror. It's going to be super weird. It was weird for me. But just try it and see what it does for you. Does it give your mood a lift? Does it give your mindset a switch? But she said, give it a 7 days, see what happens. So I just gave you like the synopsis of her book. Give it a shot. Let's transition from mind into body. Let me say this. I am not a medical professional. I am not a doctor. I'm not here to consult or tell you like what you should take or how you should take it. That's why you all have health professionals that you work with. All I'm going to give is general, because I've done a lot of wellness training when it comes to beauty. And this is what I found from the body is up your protein and fiber and lessen the empty carbs and sugar as an overall general rule. Whether you're pregnant, not pregnant, like on certain medications, not, that is just a great general rule of eating clean to make sure the body and the brain and our organs are getting what they need and less of the bad stuff. And for me, I like to think 80-20 rule. Like once again, I'm pregnant. So am I eating gummy bears? Yes. Am I eating Twizzlers and sugary? I am. Also making sure that I'm getting like some greens and fiber in there. And right now it's mainly like 60-40 rule for me, but in general, 80-20, meaning 80% you're doing the good stuff, and hey, that 20% you're overindulging. It's fine. We're talking about life, you know? We want to enjoy it. For me, I was raised in a restaurant, so I need to be able to enjoy some food. So 80-20 rule is kind of like my rule. Health affects your attitude and vice versa, and that's just science. I always tease my grandfather. He has my grandfather is 72 years old. He's a Vietnam War vet. He has stage 4 cancer. He's doing very well. He has like heart challenges and all things from being in Vietnam. But he loves to be, he has a dry sense of humor, and he just loves to irritate. just because it's like fun for him. And I always tell him, like, grandpa, that's not good for your heart, this attitude. And it's kind of true. When you look at positive influences in your life, health affects your attitude and vice versa. I talked about when I eat crappy foods, I usually feel crappy. They go together. And like move your mass as a great example, like going for a walk, whatever that looks like for you. I know I feel better when I take my dog for a walk rather than when I sit and watch Netflix for like 15 hours in a row. So move your mass as a whole is a great rule. And then hydrate. One of my favorite things I've implemented is I drink a glass of water first thing in the morning before I drink my coffee. Hydration is amazing for your brain. It's amazing for your organs. It's amazing for your digestive system and having great bowel movements. Everybody should be having. Not that we're going to talk about it, but other than that, really important for your body. And coffee can be dehydrating, and actually eating can be dehydrating. And so if we're hydrating our body first, we kind of get everything going in the morning. So that's all I'll say about the body. Once again, because I am not a health professional, but what I will say is that if there are goals that you have for yourself and you want to consult with me outside of this, I am more than happy to sit down. I do complimentary consults for the entire BCSS community. It's just not something I feel confident doing in front of a room, but I'm happy to chit chat one-on-one. When it comes to your spirit, we only have so much time, right? So if you're intentional with it, you can truly have it all. Kind of feels like Burger King, you can have it your way. You can have it all, especially when you focus on yourself. Because Rachel Hollis, and I mentioned that she goes through the calendar and she picks 5 things. I put these pictures up because I was like, okay, what are 5 things that I want more of in my life? One of them is I love a good charcuterie board. And right now I can't eat them because I'm not allowed to have lunch meat. So you best be believing after April 11th, like I want a charcuterie board in my hospital room so I could eat like some deli meats and some cheese and some olives. Like I just love them. I like breakfast charcuterie boards. And here's the thing, when I picked the 5 things that I wanted for myself, it feels silly at first, but then I'm like, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about it. If charcuterie boards make me happy, I'm going to put it on my goals and I'm going to make sure I have more of them in my life. Because also when it comes to wine, not that I need to have more red wine in my life, but for me, that's like the social aspect. My husband and I, we love going to vineyards. We love wine tasting and doing that experience with friends. So for me, that's like more laughter, more joy, more time with people I love. I need to prioritize that in my schedule. And then this is my husband and I in Italy on our honeymoon. We love to travel, and I want more of that in my life, whether it's taking a trip 2 hours away to somewhere we've never been before to explore a new town, or whether hopefully it's taking my mom to Greece next year. Like those are things that bring me joy, that fill me up. And if there are things that fill you up, shouldn't you have more of them in your life? Shouldn't you want to be intentional about making sure more of them happen in your life? And so I encourage you, pick 5 things. Pick 5 things that you want to have more of in your life. Doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about it. And then make a commitment to having more of them this year. Maybe put them on a vision board or somewhere you can check it off. Be like, yep, I totally forgot I wanted more of that. I'm going to make sure I have more of it in my life this week. Because it's important. We hear this all the time. When you're on an airplane, put the mask on yourself before you put the mask on someone else, right? Because you can't help somebody else if you have no oxygen. It's the same in life. Like we are, and especially as women, because everybody in this room is a woman, we're the caregivers, right? We think about everybody else all the time. And a lot of times we're pouring from an empty cup. And it is so important that we fill ourselves up with whatever makes you happy. Because whatever's left over, what's overflowing is what spills onto others. And it becomes near impossible to keep pouring when you feel empty. And so it is so crucial for self-care to figure out the things that fill you up so you can give more and the best of yourself to the people in your world that you love. And so when I heard this the first time, I almost needed permission to pour into myself. So if you need that, I'm here to give it to you. I'm giving you permission to take the time to do things that fuel you and fill you up so that you have the best of yourself to give to the world around you. and the best of yourself to focus on you as well. Okay. Let's talk skin. So we went through the woo-woo stuff, right? So we talked mind, we talked body, we talked spirit. Hopefully, I'm triggering some things that are going to help you grow or at least move forward or try new things. But let's talk about the skin, because the skin is the external. It's also the largest organ in our body. And there are 3 layers of your skin. So you have your epidermis, which is what everybody can see. You have your dermis layer, and then you have your subcutaneous fatty layer. So these are the 3 layers of your skin.
What was that? Do you want me to change?
Yep. Anybody hear of the Demodex mite?
No.
Good, because he's my favorite guy to talk about. This is what he looks like super up close. Everybody's got their own bugs. This Demodex mite likes to live on your skin, and if you're not washing your face, it just keeps eating up all the dead skin cells and all the oils. And guess what? This is super gross, but I'm going to say it. The Demodex mite does not have an anus. And so when he fills up, he just explodes on your face. Google it. The reason that I say this is it's so important to wash your face twice a day. Cleanse in the morning and cleanse at night. And now I get some questions that are like, well, wait a second. Usually people understand cleansing at night because, yeah, I got to get all the dirt and the oils and off, but do I really need to wash my face in the morning as well? Yes. And here's why. Who changes their pillowcase every single day? Nobody's hands raised because nobody does it. Nobody changes their pillowcase every single day. Well, think about it. We have oils on our skin and our hair that are now in our pillowcase. We're sleeping on it. We have maybe some dust that settled onto our nightstands. And if the wind's blowing or the air is blowing or the heat's blowing, that's all coming in our beds. Some of us may have pets. That dander's flying around everywhere. All of that can be settling into our skin. And if you're sleeping for 8 hours a night, there's also some sweatiness and some oils that are happening in ourselves. So it is really crucial to cleanse your skin in the morning and at night. The other thing I talk about too is we talked about the epidermis layer. Well, the layer underneath the dermis layer is where all of our plump, juicy skin cells start to produce. And so think of your skin cells like your youthful, fresh skin as big, plump, juicy grapes. And as those grapes start rising to the surface, they start losing hydration, which is why water is so important to our skin as well. But they start to lose hydration. So by the time they reach the top of our skin, we have a bunch of all these like little dry raisins. So it's important, and we'll talk about exfoliation, it's important to slough off those dead raisins so that all of the cleansers and the toners and the things we might be using for our skin are actually penetrating and helping all those nice plump juicy grapes. So I have a little workshop. You want to hit the next? Unless you want me to keep the bug up. Do y'all want to keep looking at the bug for a little? No, we're good. Okay. So here's a fun little action item for you. I want to put all of these steps are not currently in order. If you were going to do all of these skincare steps, I would love for you to put them in order right now. And we're going to see how close everybody gets. So starting from first thing you need to do to the last thing you need to do. And I like my little double face here. Try and put those skincare steps in order. Oh, don't look at the answers. For those that have the printout, don't look at the answers. How are we doing, Zoom? Just so you know, when I first started, I didn't get them all right. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. All right. Let's see who got closest. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the next one. Oh, sorry, I'll let you finish.
Oops, sorry. I
More
accidentally
bugs.
made the call to the bug again.
Just can't get enough of the bugs.
Click forward.
Okay, so here's the proper order. Let's go through it. And now listen, do you have to do all of these steps? No. If you want to, go for it. It just depends on what your skin goals are, because we're talking about the outside self and our skin health is very important. But who had cleanser as the first step? Awesome. We want to cleanse the skin. Now here's the deal. Our cleanser is not meant to remove our makeup. So if you're wearing makeup, you need to remove your makeup and then you need to cleanse. If you're using your cleanser to remove your makeup, you have to cleanse twice. Once to get the makeup off, second time to actually clean the skin. So who had exfoliate as the next step? All right, awesome. So here's the when it comes to exfoliator, and now most people aren't exfoliating every single day. I actually highly encourage you not to. It's not something you should do every day. But when you exfoliate, you're going to use water, because usually it's either like a mechanical. If you're using a physical exfoliant that you have to, like the beads that you feel, the scrubbies, you're going to rinse that off with water. So you want to do that after you cleanse. Now, there are some exfoliants that are chemical based, and not chemical as in bad chemicals. They just use alpha hydroxy acids that have a chemical reaction with our skin to do the same thing. If you're using an exfoliant that does not involve water, you can actually do this after your toning step. So who had tone as the third step? A couple people. Does anybody know what a toner does? Yes. You're the first person ever that said that.
Thank you.
Are you a beauty professional?
What?
Are you a beauty professional?
No.
Okay.
I just used to be really into skincare.
Yes, gold star.
What tripped me up was I switched, I did mask then toner, because toner was always my last step for the stuff I kept on my face.
Well, so if the mask is something you're rinsing off, you're correct. So all of your water-based stuff that you're going to rinse off, you're going to do before your toner. Here's why. When we rinse with water, our skin, when it comes to the pH scale, pH is 0 to 14. Our skin sits in around that 4 to 5.5 pH range. Our skin is meant to be more acidic than alkaline. Water is around a 7. And so when we're using water to cleanse our skin or to remove our exfoliator or anything else we're doing, it throws our skin all the way over into alkaline. It takes 30 minutes for your skin to reset its pH naturally. Now, that's when we're young. As we get older, it takes a little bit longer time. It is necessary for your skin to be pH balanced before you start applying all of your serums and your moisturizers. If your skin isn't properly pH balanced, all that stuff is just going to sit on top. So toner is like the #1 missing skincare piece in someone's routine that I find, because they're going right from their cleanser and their mask and their exfoliants right into their serums and their moisturizers. All it's doing is sitting on top. It's not actually penetrating. And all someone needs is that toner step to make everything else work better. And so when you use a toner, it resets your skin's pH immediately. And now it's properly ready for you to put all of your other stuff on. So that's the importance of toner. It is the #1 missing piece in people's skincare routine. So from toner, you go to mask. Now, this is a mask that's going to be waterless, meaning like a sheet mask where you put it on and then it penetrates into your skin. You don't need to wash it off. Because once we tone, we don't want to use any more water because we've pH balanced our skin. So you're going to move into your mask. And mask is here because you only usually do it a couple times a week. Unless, I mean, power to you if you're doing a mask every single night, like really good on that self-care. I don't do a mask every single night because usually they're more intense treatment products. From there, you want to move into your serums and your treatments. Then you're going to get your eye cream. Now, why an eye cream? It's because the skin underneath our eyes is almost like tissue paper in that it's very, very thin. It doesn't have that fatty layer. So it's important when you're using products that you're using something for that specific area of your skin. So think of underneath your eyes like tissue paper. Think of your skin on your face kind of like wrapping paper. Has a little bit more sturdiness to it, but it still can tear easily. And then think about your décolletage area like a sheet of paper. So it's even a little bit more thick. So it kind of makes sense if we have different depths to our skin that we might need different skincare products for those specific areas. So that's why eye cream is necessary. And I educate on that because I don't know if anybody else feels this way. I used to feel this way. I'm like, they just have all these different products because they want me to spend more money. So I'm like, they have neck creams and eye creams because they just want me to spend more money. But really, it's because of those different depths of our skin. So they are necessary. They're formulated for that. Finally, you're going to moisturize. Moisturize is the end component because it's sealing everything else in. Your moisturizer is also going to be your thickest molecule, your biggest molecule. So whenever you're doing your treatment products, you always want to do sheer to thicker because you want those smaller molecules to penetrate first, and then the moisturizer, the larger molecules to penetrate last. And then finally, is it important to use sunscreen every day? 100%. Why? Because all those UVA and UVB rays can be very damaging to the skin. And I know estheticians fight with doctors because vitamin D is very important, but most people are better off getting a vitamin D supplement than trying to get vitamin D from the sun. It is better to wear your sunscreen. There are different kinds. There are physical sunscreens. There are also chemical sunscreens. But if anybody has any questions about skincare, feel free to ask. Or if you'd like to book a one-on-one consult, just feel free to sit down with me. I do them complimentary and we can help kind of navigate what your skin goals are. And if you have some challenges, we can work through that together. Okay, I just thought this was funny.
That's the same guy.
Same guy.
Oh my God.
Don't tell me a beard and a good haircut doesn't have the same effect as makeup. Because we tease like, oh, women are the ones that make up. This is the same guy. One with nice haircut and beard and one without. So men have their own version of like physical things that they need to do, just like women do as well. I just thought this was funny. Okay, so we talked skin. Let's talk beauty. Nearly half of women in the United States feel that wearing makeup makes them feel more in control. 82% of women believe wearing makeup makes them feel more self-confident. 86% of women find wearing makeup improves their self-image. And so based on these statistics, beauty is really about empowerment, whether it's a little or it's a lot. And this is kind of where I thrive and where I talk and where I consult, because I love helping women find her solution in beauty. Because whether it's a 5-minute face with 3 or 4 products that make you feel good, or whether you have 30 minutes and you want to use 20 products and put it all on, you can fit anywhere inside beauty. It's just a matter of what's a fit for you. And what I find is that I run into a lot of women that either one, have been doing the same thing for the past 30 years. And they're like, I just want to update a little bit because I don't know how to do anything else. And that's where I love to consult. I also have a lot of women that look at social media and think, if TikTok is what makeup is, like, I can't do that. I want no part of it. And so I like to kind of bring those worlds together and help you understand that you can have a solution that fits for you, whether it's a little product or a lot. And most women find that when they put a little bit of makeup on that makes them feel good, that they feel confident in their application, their shoulders, they sit up a little bit more, shoulders a little bit taller, they feel more confident, they speak with confidence. And that's the goal when we talk the inner self and the outer self, is how to make those two match so you feel the best possible way you can moving into the world. And so finally, I wanted to wrap with, I saw these two and I thought this was interesting. I was at a conference and this gentleman, he was in the medical field, he was talking about frequencies and how everybody's energy operates at different frequencies, how organs, how radio waves, everything operates at a frequency. And he said the highest frequency is the frequency of authenticity. And I saw this quote, authenticity is the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are, by Brene Brown.
And I hope as we've kind of gone through here in the past 45 minutes that made you think a little bit, empowered you to maybe take some ownership of some things that you want for your life and take action towards it. And when it comes to your own beauty routine, whether it's makeup, whether it's skin, whether it's gut health, that you feel confident in at least knowing where you want to go and what you'd like to focus on. And then hopefully you'd be open to asking for a little help, because that's what I would love to help you all do individually. And like I said, for BCSS, anyone is more than welcome to book a consult with me where we can dive in and figure out what your goals are, what you need help with, and then I'll help you get there. So thank you all so much. They may have any questions for me. I was just either so good or just confused everybody. Do we have any questions in the chat? Nobody's chatty? Oh my goodness.
Do you want to chat and write something? Or?
No, I think it's fine. Well, I want to thank you all so much for your time. I think you have surveys in front of you. If you could fill them out and hand them in. I know there's going to be a follow-up email going out that'll have my information. So if there's any questions or anything, or if you think of something later on you want to follow up, you'll have access to me that you can reach out. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thanks to everybody who attended via Zoom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Maleeva.
You bet.
That was great.